we're returning to sauce. We have our tomatoes. Here they are. Ooh, damn, girl. It's looking good. Okay, these tomatoes have been quickly blanched. You can see a lot of liquid. This is a good thing. We're going to run these through the food mill and process this into what's going to become the basis for our sauce. So, set the food mill. The food mill works. This food mill works relatively well for tomatoes. Not perfectly, but relatively well. And so we're going to use that. Our 2 pounds of tomatoes have been dry blanched and just a little bit of olive oil to help to see how these skins pull away nicely. That's what we're going for. And so by running it through the food mill, we're going to avoid the skins and the seeds, only get the juice and a little bit of the pulp to thicken things up. So I'm just going to go straight in, carefully. Like a pro, you can't do that at home. Like a pro. Okay. And then this part's fun. We're grinding our tomatoes. So depending on the type of tomato you're using, you might have more pulp. They might be a little juicier. But you can see our skins are staying here. We're getting some awesome juice down at the bottom. The seeds are staying in here as well. Our bodies can't digest those, so we're going to leave these out. Just going to give a little help. Break down some of these. The key to this sauce, is using the best tomatoes you have. It's such a simple sauce. There's only a couple ingredients. This is why I will suggest using vine ripe, overdue tomatoes versus canned tomatoes. Canned tomatoes are going to be a little more bland unless they're really top end, high quality San Marzano tomatoes. The ones we have are not. So we have gifted and free local tomatoes that we're going to use for this sauce. Alright, just a little more squish, 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 squish. Squish, 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 squish. Kind of sounds like the baseball card on the bike. Yeah, we're getting there. Essence of tomato. This is all going to have a little more character than Ann was expecting. This is going to be great. Alright, we're good. We're looking in here. Take off my peepers. Alright. Mostly in here is just skin. There's a little pulp, we have skin, and we have the seeds. I can sit here all day and get more, a drop at a time. But we're done with that. And I'm actually going to go back into my pan. I'm looking for, I want a wider surface area. So when I bring it to a simmer, I get more simmer action, a little faster evaporation. I don't want to go high, super hot. So, for this recipe, tomato sauces can go all kinds of ways. You can add garlic, onion, carrot, celery. You can stew it down really deep. But I've been thinking about this more and more, like what is flavor? What are we trying to get out of things? And when we have vine ripe tomatoes, that's what we want to taste. And so in this case, our recipe calls for 2 pounds of tomatoes, which we have food milled. And then it also calls for a onion halved. In this case, we're using a shallow pan. And so I'm going to quarter it after I skin it. And we're actually going to remove this from our sauce. So we're not even going to have pieces of onion in our sauce. It's purely tomatoes. Don't be an onion killer. There's these people out there and they like to waste half of the onion. You're only allowed to use the skin and up to one shell. That's all you're allowed to lose. Everything else has to be retained. Okay, so this doesn't go in the trash either, but we'll get to that. Here we are. We have our onion. This is just going to go into our pan. Our recipe calls for 5 tablespoons of butter. You know, though, I like butter. So this one stick is 8 tablespoons. It's a little excessive, but it's what we're doing. And then we're gonna add, this is like tomato juice. You made your own. Well, I made some. We're gonna add this. Okay, this is gonna go back on the stove. And so this, whoa, this will simmer for the length of our preparation. Onion skins. These are precious. Most people, sinners, will throw this stuff away, but not in this household. In this household, we save these kind of things. So, I may not have one going yet. Oh, I lied. Okay, so in my freezer, I keep a Ziploc bag for scraps like this. And it already has some tomatoes. It already has onion skin in it. So, here we go. We add that. We save it. Now this will be used for stock. You can add, when you peel a carrot, you put it in your Ziploc bag. When you shave the end off of celery or carrot or onion or bell pepper or basil stems, you put it in your Ziploc bag. And then you put it back into the freezer. And then it's waiting for you when you want to make chicken stock. Then you don't have to go buy an onion, 2 carrots, and a whole head of celery to make chicken stock because you have scraps sitting in the freezer. And to that, you save your chicken bones. After you gnaw on them, you eat a chicken wing, you save it. Maybe don't save your cousin's when he comes over and hangs out with you for the night. Don't save his. But you could save yours. You could save all the skin from the fish. You could save that T-bone from the nice steak you had. Put that all into your Ziploc bag. You get a gallon full. You put it in a pot, and you're going to have stock, no matter the time. One of my favorite things about the Yorba bottle is the brands here. So we have these brands. And so Yorba specializes in 4 varietals that do really well in the foothills: Syrah, Barbera, Zinfandel, and Tempranillo. And so then we have 4 brands that actually go back to the family's heritage. So Jose Antonio Yorba was a conquistador from Spain. He came over on a ship. He finished his mission and he was granted land by the Spanish government. And so each bottle actually has one of his, I think, grandchildren. I may be a little iffy on the details here, but this Barbera is the cattle brand of Bernardo Yorba. And so each one has a separate one. Cattle brand of Bernardo Yorba, 1826. And this is one of my favorite things about working with the Yorba family, the Kramer family, is that it's such a family endeavor. I mean, we were harvesting this morning at 2 a.m. and we have our patriarch, Ann Kramer, running tractor. We have her sister, Miss Sue, connecting all the dots. We have nieces and nephews, Ryan and Lindsay. Lindsay's picking leaves out. Ryan's working with the dudes and me, and we're all picking grapes from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. 10 tons this morning. Did I mention 45 minutes of sleep? But there we go. Okay, tomato sauce. It's simmering. This is nice. It's a little hot though. We don't want to scorch the bottom, so we're going to turn this to a medium low, and we're going to let this bubble for the length of our preparation. Meatballs, sausage. So I say meatballs, I use them kind of interchanging. I like to base my meatball on pork because I like the richness. I want it to have that juice. I want it to have that fat. And so these aren't going to be our classic meatballs that are real big, more of a sausage style, but I don't want to crumble it. I really want to put a little bit more time into forming a meatball that's going to be right next to this gnocchi that we put a lot of time into. So we're going to go back to our sausage, which has been getting to know itself with the garlic, with the Parmesan, with our red wine, Barbera, and we're going to form our little portion meatballs. So, all right, like I said, we don't need to form all of this into half-ounce meatballs. There's no need for me and my wife tonight to have 200 meatballs to ourselves. We're going to form just enough, which I think is about 6 each, maybe, but it's probably fun to do like 11 because I'm probably going to have one extra, and she's only going to have 5. But we're going to take the rest of this after we form them and freeze it, use it later in the week. That's good. So you can use a small scoop if you like. I don't have a small cookie dough scoop, so I'm going to use this tablespoon scoop to portion out my sausage. And in a cook's world, everything is about efficiency. So the first thing we do is portion. Everything comes out, and I don't need these to be all exactly the same size. I'm not going to bust out my scale and turn it on to grams and make sure all of these are... Oh, what do you think one is? I think one might be like 24 grams. We're going to bust out the scale. All right, 24 grams. All right, there we go. Oh, dang. Oh, no way! No way! That is glorious. Yes. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, you need me to eyeball your kush? I can do it. Wow. That was awesome. Okay, I'm riding high right now. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9. Okay, so 11 because I get 1 extra and she only gets 5. 10, 11. Okay, and this go back into our fridge. At a different time, we will portion this into 1-pound pieces in plastic bags, and we'll get to it when we get to it. These will form little meatballs. I think about gnocchi, a very simple tomato sauce in these sausage meatballs. So tomato is like essence of tomato. It really, that's why I chose the tomato sauce, essence of tomato, specifically focusing, because with the Yorba Barbera is, it's not tainted, it's not over oaked, we're not trying to manipulate it, it's really trying to capture the season and what's best that year. And so with each, we have 3 parts of a dish. And so with this, we're bringing pork and Parmesan. This is our salt. And then we're gonna have a base of gnocchi. That's this fluffy, light starch. And then we have the tomato sauce that's not gonna be over the top or over extracted or like way too heavy. It's gonna be clean tomato flavor. Pork meatballs. What I like to do, with my pork sausage, after it's formed, I go back into the fridge. What happens is a little pellicle will start to form. The outside will be a little dehydrated, and so when you go to either roast it in the oven or saute it in a pan, it'll hold its form a little better. So when I make larger meatballs, whatever combination of protein that's in there, I always do that. I form them the day before, and then the next day I roast them off. I braise them with the sauce.